friends, I can't really tell if Jagmeet Singh is in charge of the Liberal Party of Canada or if he's simply just a sycophant propping up Justin Trudeau. But I guess at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter because it's his job as one of the opposition parties to hold the government of the day to account. And he's definitely not doing that. And I don't think it needed to be said, but somebody did say it. In fact, he wrote it. Joining me now is Lorne Gunter of the Edmonton Sun, and he wrote a recent article called "The NDP Leader Should Be Holding Trudeau to Account." But he's not, Lorne. Why not?
He's not, and it's kind of like a two-faced act for Jagmeet Singh. As I wrote in my column, during the day, during parliamentary time, he's Jagmeet. And he's fawning all over the Liberals, and oh no, we're not going to pull the government down. That would be bad. So we're going to prop them up, do whatever they need us to do to keep them in power. And then at night he goes home and he takes out his phone, cracks open his Twitter app, and he's Jaggernaut. Oh, the Liberals, they're terrible, they're awful, they're in bed with the grocery store chains to increase prices for you. They don't care about the little guy. They're all for big profit, And so, which of these two acts is the real Jagmeet Singh? And I'm surprised, first of all, that he has any shred of self-respect left, because he's done so many things that are against NDP principles in order just to keep the Liberals in power. But I also am surprised that his caucus and his membership aren't holding him to more account. Like, where are ordinary New Democrats in all of this, saying, we need a new leader, or we need our leader to get a backbone? Or it just puzzles me so much. How are they so afraid of another election that they're prepared to push down all of the things that they believe in order to keep the Liberals in power?
That's a question I often ask myself when I look at the NDP. I think there are people who are, I would fundamentally disagree with them on almost everything, but they are NDP voters because they care about socialist principles. And yet their own leader is disenfranchising them. If they wanted to vote for the Liberals, they would vote for the Liberals. So at what point, I guess, does he have a membership revolt on his hand or a caucus revolt on his hand? When does this happen?
I'm so surprised by that. And it can't possibly be that their party finances are in such dire straits, because we've had one election after another that does wear on a party that has some trouble raising money. But they all have the same trouble now, right? There are no more big individual donations. There are no more corporate donations. There are no more union donations either, which is what really bothers the NDP, what makes it difficult for them. But all the parties have that problem. So it can't be the finances that are that bad. And they must start to look at the electoral equation and say, gee, if we always are mimicking the Liberals, then people who aren't our committed voters, but are swing voters who might come to us when they get disgusted with Justin Trudeau, and there are an awful lot of leftist voters who are disgusted with Justin Trudeau. If we are always mimicking the Liberals, then those people aren't going to come to us. They're going to say, well, what's the point? I might as well vote for the Liberal. And that way, then, they're also voting for the party in power. The calculations just don't make any sense to me at all. Wouldn't you really rather leave? Maybe you only get that, they only have a couple dozen seats in the Commons. Maybe you only get 3 dozen in the next election. But at least you fight it with some self-respect and dignity. Where they're at now is they have neither. And the thing that I think is really telling is that, so you had Trudeau and the premiers over a week ago have this summit on healthcare spending. And one of the things that wasn't said, but was certainly rumored around the corners, was that in healthcare spending now, the feds will not go after the provinces if the provinces allow private delivery of publicly funded healthcare. So the governments will pay for the healthcare, but as often happens now in Quebec and is increasingly looking like it's going to happen in Ontario, then there might be private hospitals or private clinics or private groups of doctors that provide the service. And this just drives the NDP wild. And there is no other issue, I think, that's more of a core for the NDP than publicly administered, publicly delivered healthcare. It's the founder of their party, Tommy Douglas, was the first premier to bring in socialized healthcare in Canada. When he became the national leader, that was one of his big pushes. Probably nothing defines the NDP more than publicly delivered healthcare, delivered by government unions, delivered by government bureaucrats, administered by politicians. You know, the last people I would want to go to for medical health would be politicians and bureaucrats, but that's the NDP fundamentally believes that you cannot deliver equitable healthcare without bureaucrats and politicians being in charge. And here's Trudeau with the premiers undermining that, and even that doesn't get Jagmeet Singh to go after the Liberals. So I just don't understand when this cozying up, this kissing up to the Liberals ends.
I'm not sure why it's happening. I think maybe it's because the NDP are getting some of the things they want, and that's good enough for them. You know, they sort of got their national dental care policy done, and that was, you know, their brainchild, if you can call anything that comes out of the NDP that, and launched by the Liberals. But as a conservative, I cheer for the NDP sometimes, because a strong NDP is what creates the vote split on the progressive side. When the NDP offers something different than the Liberals, conservatives do well. I'm old enough to remember Thomas Mulcair. Again, fundamentally opposed to him on just about everything, but at least I didn't think he was crazy.
Right.
And I think he offered something different, but we don't have any of that.
And Mulcair's a very intelligent guy. I mean, I remember when he was cross-examining, he was using his lawyer skills to cross-examine Stephen Harper in the House of Commons on the prisoner exchange in Afghanistan. And I was so impressed by his intelligence and his ability to change his line of attack as the government said things he hadn't expected. And it was so interesting. Jagmeet Singh couldn't do that. I'm quite convinced of it. I mean, I'd say bring back Jack Layton. You know, that's the quickest way to get a conservative government, would be to have a strong NDP leader like Layton. I don't think the NDP will ever win power in my lifetime federally. But boy, if you could get an NDP leader who could win 60 seats, then I think you're going to have a Pierre Poilievre majority.
That was an excerpt from the Ezra Levant Show. I'm Ezra Levant. Every weekday, I do a monologue about the topic of the day. Then I interview a fascinating guest, either in studio or via Skype. And then I read your mail, whether it's fan mail or hate mail, which is sometimes even more interesting. This is on our premium service, though, called Rebel News Plus. Go to rebelnewsplus.com. It's $8 a month, or less if you buy a whole year in advance. You get my show every weeknight, plus Sheila Gunn Reid's show every week. It's called The Gun Show. It's pretty amazing. You know, we rely on you because we do not take a dime from the government. In Canada, that makes us almost unique. So please help us out and help yourself to some great journalism at rebelnewsplus.com.